Welcome into another edition of Mavs Latest. I'm Josyah Howard, and the coaching news continues to get better and better as it's gotten worse and worse for the Mavericks. It's gotten now better and better and better as the Mavericks, Jason Kidd, the head coach of the Mavericks, is adding another member to his revamped coaching staff, a name that has been popped up in rumors to be added to the Mavericks staff over the last few weeks. Mike Penberthy, according to ESPN's Dave McMenamin, will be joining Jason Kidd and Frank Vogel as part of this new revamped Mavs staff, as a lot of staff members have been moving on to different opportunities. Obviously, Jared Dudley and Got Shamgod and Sean Sweeney. Now, Jason Kidd getting the band back together, getting the 2020 NBA Finals band back together. So this is fun to see, and this was kind of the recipe that I was rooting for this entire time. When it comes to the spot of losing all these pieces, because when you're in a spot when you're losing staff member left and right, you have to bring in people you trust and you know are going to get the job done. So you look back to now, if you're Jason Kidd, your time with the Lakers in that 2020 bubble run. So now you bring in a Mike Penberthy. You brought in Frank Vogel, who obviously was the head coach of the Lakers during that bubble run. So I'm excited. I obviously early on you didn't know what was going to happen with the Mavericks coaching staff. A lot of it was a smoke, no fire. But now the hirings are starting to roll out, and you're starting to see how this is going to shape up, how this coaching staff's going to shape up. And I don't know if they need to add anyone else, but if they do need to continue to add spots to the coaching staff, I would love to see. Again, I brought it up in a different episode. Phil Handy is somebody where you lost God Shamgod. I think Phil Handy, again, fills that role that you lost in God Shamgod in the player development side of things. Now, again, you bring in Mike Penberthy, experience upon experience upon experience. And again, you're bringing in somebody that was with Jason Kidd in that bubble run, and it seems like that's the theme of the new coaching staff. And I'm for it because that recipe worked, and AD's in the building, and he was honestly the centerpiece of all of that working. And now you bring in a Cooper Flag, and once everyone's healthy, you never know. But I see the recipe here. I see the vision, and it seems like they're going to lean similarly to that Lakers bubble run in 2020. And it all starts with AD. And I think it's genius. It's smart. That's when AD was his most successful, so set him up to be in that position once again. It's smart. I like it. Um so yeah, welcome Mike Penberthy to the Dallas Mavericks. Another assistant for Jason Kidd as he's trying to revamp his uh, coaching staff, as a lot of people are starting to move on and get better opportunities across the league. So, moving on here in Mavs latest, does LeBron James even make sense for the Mavericks? Now, obviously, it's been talked about here the last couple weeks, and more like a week, that LeBron James and the Mavericks, there's some buzz there in terms of what their timeline might be, what his timeline might be, and what his fit might be on the team in terms of chasing that championship one more time. Um, and it seems like, to me, really on the surface, it's not a realistic thing that could happen because there's not that many ways it can happen, because you're not going to trade for him. Why would you trade for him and give up assets? That's not worth trading any assets for a 40-year-old, no matter how amazing it is. He is the greatest 40-year-old, 41, 42, 43, however long he plays, he's the greatest player at that age. But I'm not giving up any type of assets for him. Now, if there's a buyout situation or if he cleanly becomes a free agent and the money works, cool. I think that's where it starts to make more sense. But until there's a world where he's actually available via, like I said, a buyout opportunity or cleanly going through free agency like he usually does, he has the history of finishing his contracts out. So I don't know. It's something we obviously got to continue to monitor and continue to talk about because LeBron James in Dallas, no matter what age he is a massive deal. And on the surface, on the basketball court, in a vacuum, it could fit. It really could. But a lot of it, money at the end of the day, excuse me, you got to avoid that second apron. And I just don't see LeBron taking vets minimum to chase a championship. I know he wants a ring. I just don't see him doing it by accepting less than what his value is, which if he's still giving you 24, 8 and 8, that value is max player. And some people might say that's selfish of him and he might need to start taking a pay cut and maybe he will. But he's within his right if he's still playing at that level to not take a pay cut because he's still giving you that value. A guy like a Tim Duncan, for example, who took less money, or a Dirk who took less money, they weren't giving the production that a LeBron is at his age right now, currently. We don't necessarily know that when that'll tail off, but I don't think it's going to be this season. So again, we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, keep you up to date here on Mavs Latest because LeBron James is in Dallas. Things are about to get very, very different. Um, but I did want to speak a little bit on this. Thought it was kind of funny more than anything. So, Swaggy P Nick Young was on Gil's Arena, Gilbert Arenas' podcast, and he wasn't a huge fan of the Mavericks getting D'Lo. Um, he went on to say, "Can't have fun, can't trust a bleep in the locker room." Um, Obviously referring to the end of his relationship with Iggy Azalea, that weird moment on the internet they had together. But yeah, I just thought it was kind of funny because obviously didn't speak anything to basketball, but I don't. I think Dallas was the best fit for what D'Lo needed in his career right now, but I don't necessarily think Dallas needed D'Lo in this spot because yes, you need him in the short term, but I don't like you don't need him in the year short term. You need him in the 6 month short term. So it's just tough to bring him in on a 2 year deal in this spot because I don't think it's a 2 year fit. Now, if he has a little bit of a bounce back year, obviously, and gives you 18, 7 assists on 36% from three, okay. That's that could be extended for a second year. And we'll obviously have to wait and see because D'Lo has obviously shown flashes season after season after season. But the obvious question mark with him has always been the consistency on offense and the efficiency on offense. So I'm excited to see what happens because he's in a great spot to bounce back. The question is, will he bounce back? Um, but to wrap up today's episode of Mavs Latest, just wanted to shed a little bit of light on some comments by obviously Savinian Donnie Marshall. He's a former uh, Dallas Mavericks GM. He's working with Luka Doncic with the Savinian team now, and he did an interview, and he had some feelings about Luka's sudden trade by the Dallas Mavericks, and he said, but with all due respect, you have to understand that some players are different, special, and even more important to the environment and the community. Donnie Marshall said, it's important to treat those players with respect, and that's why there's so much disappointment after what happened to Luka. It's not just my disappointment, but a universal disappointment. Um, yeah, that's strong words from the former Dallas GM with some truth behind it. It was truly universally disappointing to see Luka Doncic get moved from Dallas. Obviously, he had just had the new home built there. Obviously, ingratiated with the community, thought he was going to be with Dallas his whole career. So as hard as it is to not talk about it, it's something that's attached with this franchise forever, and it's always something it's always something that'll always connect to something else with the Mavericks, because everything in the future with the Mavericks will always connect back to this trade right here. uh and the interview that Donnie did was with Epica. I'm sorry if I Epica. Yeah, I'm sorry if I'm butchering that, but it was definitely an international outlet. But again, everything Donnie had to say about the trade and just the feelings behind the trade were very valid, and respect him for voicing his opinion on it. So today's that's wrapping up today's Mavs latest episode. I'm Josyah Howard. Please subscribe down below. Please comment. And let's get it, y'all.